Welcome back to Fast Money. We've got a Bitcoin alert. The cryptocurrency soaring 8% to another all-time high. The record run comes as a major player in the space. Coinbase files plans today to go public. In Bitcoin, the boom is creating a big payday for the payment stocks. Check out PayPal and Square. Both stocks have been on a tear as Bitcoin breaks out to new highs. Our next guest says there are even bigger gains ahead. Let's bring in Dan Dolev. He covers the payment stocks at Mizuho. Dan, great to speak with you.
Thanks, Melissa. It was a pleasure being on your show.
Help us to understand how we should regard Bitcoin as a part of these stocks businesses, specifically PayPal and Square. I would imagine it's a small percentage of revenues. It's quickly growing, and yet the big percentage of the gains in the stock have been driven by this Bitcoin rally.
Exactly. So we've actually done a lot of survey work. And what we've done on PayPal specifically is we've surveyed almost 400 users of PayPal. And what we found out is that almost 20% of the users have started trading Bitcoin. And we think of Bitcoin not as the Bitcoin revenue itself, but actually as the vehicle to boost engagement on the app. So we actually think about engagement as a driver of revenue growth, not as an output of revenue. And what you're seeing is that 50% of the people that use Bitcoin have actually reported an increase in engagement. So what that does, that means that those people are actually going to use more and more products and services that PayPal is offering. It's going to make PayPal more the center of their financial life. Same thing for Square, by the way. So Bitcoin by itself is a way to boost engagement, and that's what came out of our survey.
Dan, it's Karen. Thanks for coming on our show. I think you know my sister from the payment space. So how big do you think this could ultimately be? I mean, I feel like we're at the beginning, a very frothy beginning maybe, but how big do you think this could be to PayPal's and Square's of the world?
I think this is the inflection point, and I think it's a great question. I think in 2021, we're going to hit that inflection point where basically those apps are going to become the center of people's financial lives. And the reason for that, the trigger, the impetus is Bitcoin. And that just creates a massive flocking of people to those apps. And then they do more and more things with those apps. So I think this is a huge game changer for those apps. I totally understand why the stocks have reacted very positively. But, we think they're all headed towards those, 300 marks. So I think this is just the beginning of this big Bitcoin trade for both of them.
Hey, Dan, it's Tim. So, but without the Bitcoin dynamic and making those platforms that which people kind of use and manage a lot of their financial dynamics, would Square be a buy? And I'm not sure if this is in your core coverage, but outside of this dynamic, the Cash App sticky. Look, I've owned the company for a long time. I don't own it now. I'm at a 10% of position as I once had, and I'm kicking myself. But the rest of this is hard for me to fathom.
So I think Square is a buy. We don't know what it would be without Bitcoin, because Bitcoin, remember, Square was the thought leader behind Bitcoin, and they've invested $50 million in Bitcoin now, but they've been offering Bitcoin for a long time. I still think it's a massive buy despite that. And you've seen Square do well, even at times when Bitcoin wasn't growing. So there were days, we peaked in 2017, and then there was a time where Bitcoin wasn't doing well, but Square still did really well. And the Cash App was getting about 2 million downloads a month, which is a huge number. And the engagement on the Cash App has been very, very big. So I think Bitcoin is more of a kind of icing on top of the cake for Square. The ability for Square, for the Cash App to become sort of basically the ultimate neobank is irrespective of Bitcoin, in my view.
Dan, great to get your thoughts. Thank you.
Always a pleasure. Thank you.
Dan Dolev of Mizuho. Dan, Nathan, can you give us a quick trade?
Yeah, listen, it's a tough one here. You have PayPal with a higher market cap than Bank of America. You have Square with a higher market cap than Goldman Sachs. These guys do a couple things really well. They have apps that the bank consortiums also are competing with the Zelle thing. So, if Bitcoin is the game changer here, I'm not sure that's why you buy them here. They're great companies with great products who've really innovated in ways that the traditional banks that I just mentioned before have been unable to do. But there has to be some sort of mean reversion here, because I just don't think this spread can last between those two names and some of the more traditional financial services companies.
Shepard Smith here. Thanks for watching CNBC on YouTube.